You know, you gotta wonder about a lot of things in life. You have to wonder why the sun comes up. Or does it really come up? Or just revolve around the planet and we experience it at different times. Or our perception experiences that at different times. You know, you have to wonder why some days it's windy and other days there's almost no breeze at all. You have to wonder about a lot of things in life. And then some things you don't necessarily wonder about. You just like, make that make sense for me. And some things you can actually make sense. Like if I own one apple, or I have one apple in my hand, and I pick up another apple, well, now I know that I don't have one apple anymore, or one item of something we consider to be an apple. Now I know I have two. So I made that make sense by holding one apple in my hand and another apple in my hand. And now I have two instead of one that I previously had in my hand. And then some things you're like, make it make sense because there's no way it can make sense. You know, I don't wonder why we revolve around the sun. I just know we do. I don't wonder why it's windy outside some days and not. It just is. But I do wonder why people make excuses for things that they know they shouldn't make excuses for. You know, it's high time that we came to some kind of consensus around here about certain things that just make a lot of sense to come to consensus about. You know, if we can find money for a lot of stupid things, we can certainly find money for things that make sense. Or at least sense that we can all come to consensus about. You know, a lot of people owe things. I have debt that I haven't paid. I owe it. That doesn't mean that it goes away just because I haven't paid it. It just means I still owe it. There's plenty of debts that I owe. I'm trying to figure out a way to pay them. I haven't figured it out yet. But that doesn't mean that I won't have to pay it eventually. There's debts that are owed. People are trying to figure out ways that they don't have to pay their debts. And you know what? I don't mind that. Sad reality is, it doesn't mean that your debts are not going to get paid. It just means that you're stalling for time. And because time doesn't exist, you could stall indefinitely and in perpetuity. But because people think that time exists, you can't really stall forever. You know, I have debts. I gotta pay it. And even if I can't pay the full payment, I gotta pay in installments. It's called a debt plan. Now what they do for me is they take a certain percentage that I owe each month and pay towards my collective debt. You know, the United States owes a lot of debts. Lots of debts. People don't like paying their debt, or they're trying to pass it off. But eventually you have to pay your debt. And now some of you think, what's the biggest debt the United States could possibly owe? Could it owe it to China? Could it owe it to Saudi Arabia? Could it owe it to, could it owe it to itself? No. The biggest debt the United States owes is called a down payment for how it was created. You know, the United States owes a big debt. It's one that it cannot pay, nor can afford to pay, but it owes it. There hasn't been any real down payment on the debt. It's trying to stall and run out the clock. What do you mean? Time doesn't exist. Well, that's true. But it's trying to run out a clock that doesn't exist. You can't run out a clock that doesn't exist. It's almost time for the United States to pay its debt. And to the people it owes the debt to. And believe you me, the United States knows exactly the people that they owe their debt to. It's the people who founded the country. You know, it's only so long before you have to pay back your debt. With me, they put me on a payment plan. And they take a little money out of my account each and every month. And that's how I'm paying back in an installment plan. And now the United States is trying to get on an installment plan. They're trying to say, you know what? We give you a little bit of your debt that we owe you back. Don't complain about the whole thing. Only problem is interest rates. Man, those interest rates are high. For me, my interest rate is pretty low on my debt. But I would imagine I'm not a country. I'm just an individual that resides in one. The interest rates on a country are much steeper than on an individual. You know, interest rates are continuing to go up on the debt the United States owes and to the people it owes. And now, a clever little thing that they've come up with is, in order to avoid the debt or paying out so much in the debt, if those people don't make it, well, we don't have to pay such a big debt. You know, the problem with that is, if those people don't make it, the country won't make it. Here's the thing. The United States owes a debt, and it better start paying it up soon, because the clock is ticking. And when you don't pay your debts, well, you don't fare well in the court.